What's up, guys? Dr. Longo here with the Florida Department of Magic, coming to you from the Dancing Elephant, Florida's #1 metaphysical book and crystal store. And I thought I'd share with you a sermon that I heard at Bethesa-By-The-Sea, a church on Palm Beach Island, a couple months ago. Now, that's a church that Trump goes to. That's why it's most famous. But this was my very first church service there. And yeah, it was a really good time. That place is beautiful. The grounds are immaculate. And the Reverend Schenck, I believe his name is, did a really good job. So we're going to tune in on this because the sermon that was given was actually very, very relevant to my old world Florida content, especially banyan trees and the giant trees, old sacred trees in Florida. So this was very interesting to get a Christian perspective on the banyan tree, because as many of you probably know, the banyan tree is kind of the most sacred tree in Buddhism, Hinduism, or one of the most sacred. So this was very interesting, and let's get right into it.
A couple of weeks ago, as I was walking with a few parishioners, we passed a banyan tree. Still being fairly new to Florida, I've been rather mesmerized by these magnificent arboreal masterpieces. They're hard to miss with their sprawling canopies and aerial prop roots that reach down to the earth like thick pieces of interconnected rope. There's an aura of mystery that surrounds each one as their intricate exterior root system creates tiny tunnels and alcoves ripe for exploration. Each banyan tree is like a unique, one-of-a-kind sculpture. I hadn't thought much about the horticultural complexity of the banyan tree. Frankly, I've never thought about the horticultural complexity of anything. But one of my companions pointed out to me that these roots grow down from the branches, adding strength and allowing the tree to grow ever wider over time.
Now, real quick here, that's actually the main reason that they're sacred to Buddhists and Hindus, is that these trees actually grow down from the heavens to earth. Unlike most trees which grow from the ground up, the banyan grows down from above, right? Like the heavens down to the earth, instead of most trees, which is from the earth up to the sky. So that's the main thing that jumps out about the banyan tree, why it has this esoteric meaning.
And as I stared at the banyan tree that spurred this conversation, I said out loud, I can't wait to use this illustration the next time we get that passage about Jesus being the true vine. I'm always desperate for material. Well, 2 weeks later, here we are. And I swear I was shocked to see this reading pop up so soon after our conversation. It only shows up in our lectionary once every 3 years. Shocked but delighted.
So guys, just to reiterate, this was my very first time attending a church service at Bethesda-By-The-Sea. So not only was this a synchronicity for the Reverend here, this was a big synchronicity coincidence for me, because on my YouTube channel, I'm always talking about banyan trees, old trees, and, dare I say, I'm one of the few people talking about them in a religious context on YouTube. So for this to be the very first thing I heard when attending Bethesda-By-The-Sea, that means a lot to me, and I hope you guys can see the significance of that. All right, continuing.
Because now whenever I hear Jesus say, I am the vine, you are the branches, all I can see in my mind's eye is a spectacular banyan tree. I guess the whole Florida thing really is starting to take root.
There I am in the back there.
But this particular passage includes one of what are known as Jesus's I am statements. You're familiar with these. I am the good shepherd. We just heard that one last week. I am the bread of life. I am the light of the world. I am the way and the truth and the life. These are all metaphorical images through which Jesus invites us to better understand our relationship with him. There are actually 7 I am statements in John's gospel, and this is the very last one of them. I am the true vine. But this one's unique among all the others because it adds, the only one that adds a you to the mix. I am the vine, you are the branches. So this particular image stands out because it highlights our interconnectivity with Jesus and with one another. It is a bold statement of relationship. I am the vine, you are the branches. And we're reminded that we simply cannot be separated from Jesus. We are intimately connected to him. We are part of him. We belong to him. He is the vine and we are the branches. In other words, we are like the branches of the banyan tree connected to the vine that is Jesus Christ. We draw strength and life directly from him. We exist only because of our connection to the true vine. Without it, we are nothing. But through it, we live and move and have our being under the great canopy of God's eternal care. I am the vine. You are the branches. That is exceedingly good news. Because as branches of the true vine, we are ever connected to the risen Christ. And while we could all use a bit of pruning every now and then to cut away that which doesn't serve us or God and to spur new growth, we are alive in Jesus Christ, our Savior. We are branches of the true vine. We're not cut flowers, but living branches. Now, don't worry if you're on the Flower Guild. I'm not throwing cut flowers under the bus. I love seeing the artistry of how they are magically arranged at the altar every Sunday.
On a side note, shout out to my brother's girlfriend, Ava the Gardener, on Instagram, who's the #1 floral arranger in Palm Beach County. So hit her up if they want me to. I'll put the link in there.
But as lovely and colorful as flowers may be, as much water as you give them, as many of those little food packets that I dump into the vase, they're going to wither. They're going to get thrown into a garbage bag and taken away to the town dump or wherever it is that the trash goes around here.
Reverend, ancient Indian burial mounds. That's where they're going.
That doesn't make them any less special. Maybe that's why they are so special. We know they won't last, and so we enjoy them and appreciate them even more. But when it comes to our relationship with God, we're not cut flowers. We're branches, forever connected to Jesus, the source of all life and growth, joy and meaning. And that is an amazing thing. He invites us to be branches out in the world, to love one another, to tend to one another, to care for one another. As followers of Jesus, as branches of the true vine, we are Jesus's hands and feet and heart in the world around us. Our role, our responsibility, our commandment is to love one another as he loves us, to show compassion, to manifest mercy, to offer forgiveness, to grant grace, to look for opportunities like Philip in our lesson from Acts to share the good news of Jesus' message of love with a world in desperate need of hope and healing. We are branches. That is a high calling indeed. I am the vine, you are the branches. I really do think Jesus could have said, I am the banyan tree, you are the aerial prop roots. Which doesn't really roll off the tongue. Still, the next time you pass a banyan tree, and they really are all over the place around here, I encourage you to think about Jesus as the true vine, to reflect on the interconnectedness of our lives, to marvel in the mystery and the majesty of God, and to remember that we are Christ's branches in the world, which is a good and holy and life-transforming thing.
Well, all right, guys. Shout out to Reverend Schenck. That was pretty good stuff. Pretty good for my first time at Bethesa-By-The-Sea. My jaw was just about dropped the whole time, just because of how much I'm researching banyan trees and stuff like that. So I really loved hearing that stuff. Christian perspective, identifying Jesus with the banyan tree was particularly interesting because, like I said, in Buddhism and Hinduism, well, Hinduism first, then Buddhism, basically, the banyan tree, it's said that Krishna may have been born or died on the leaf of a banyan tree and is often depicted on the leaf of a banyan tree, right? As an avatar of Vishnu, you could say. So, Krishna being identified with the banyan tree, and the details vary on that, so don't grill me on that. But the Buddha in Buddhism is also identified with the banyan tree, right? They call it the Bodhi tree because it's said that Buddha attained enlightenment while sitting under a banyan tree. Some say it was only 7 days under a banyan tree. Some say it was 49 days, which would be 7 times 7 or 7 weeks. But nonetheless, it's always a banyan tree. So you've got Krishna being identified with the banyan tree. You've got Buddha being identified with the banyan tree. And now we have Jesus being identified with the banyan tree. And those two characters usually get syncretized with Jesus, you'll find. Buddha and Krishna. Krishna especially, Christ, Krishna, crystal, right, the root word there. But not trying to step on anyone's interpretation, but very interesting parallels. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because it was quite a delight when I walked in there. Being a fan of Donald Trump, working on Palm Beach for years, having never gone there. First time I show up, this is the very first sermon we hear. So shout out to Reverend Schenck. Hope you guys found that interesting, and everyone have a good day. Peace. God bless.
Here are a couple of ways you can support the channel.
Make sure to check out Florida's #1 metaphysical book and crystal store, The Dancing Elephant in Palm Beach County. You just might find me there at work. If you're not in the area, go use the code OWF at dancingelephant.shop for 10% off.
Monad is a compendium of philosophical writings by 3 major Neoplatonist philosophers, Plotinus, Porphyry, and Proclus. The most accurate and potent translations of the Neoplatonists were done by Thomas Taylor in the early 1800s, and we have made those translations available in a new hardcover edition, limited to 2,000 copies. This book is an 800-page hardcover behemoth featuring an introduction by the one and only Ken Wheeler, with cover art by Benjamin A. Vierling, and a frontispiece by Kuba Sokolsky. Copies can be purchased for a discounted price of $50 during our pre-sale, to be found at gallowglassbooks.shop. Unleash your crown chakra with our 100% cotton Make Atlantis Great Again visors, available at oldworldflorida.myshopify.com. Shop Butterfly Pea Flower Tea and Shilajit with code OWF for 10% off at sipblue.com. Shop Organic Moringa with code OldWorldFlorida for 10% off at themoringaman.com. Join our Patreon for uncensored, ad-free content, patreon.com/oldworldflorida.